In the last lecture, we had started chapter 6, in which we see how to read from a file and how to write to a file. And we had seen some basic concepts about the data types, file types, like text file and binary files. And also we have seen the types of accessing to the files, like sequential access and also direct access. And now we are in this slide. So again, as another basic information, when we define a file, especially in Windows, we also need to we need to be careful about the file name extension. So what is this? Well, if you create, for instance, a Word file, the extension will be DOC or DOCX. Or if it is a PowerPoint file, it will be PPT or PPTX. So basically, the operating system understands the data type by looking at the instruction. And then based on looking at that instruction, it runs the corresponding application. So if it sees that, okay, this is an doc file, then it runs Microsoft Word application. But if it ends with a TXT, then it opens with a Notepad. So this part is important for the operating system so that it can understand which application should be executed to process that file. And when we are processing a file, through code, we need a variable. We will call them file object. So this file object allows us to access to the disk and read data from the disk or write to the disk. So this is important that we always need a variable that will handle all of these I/O operations. And now let's begin how we can write a code that will to write to a file or read from a file. First, the first thing that we have to do is open the file. So open, when I say like open, okay, it's also inbuilt function in Python. So here we say that, let's say open, and then the file name that we would like to open. And then it takes one more parameter, which is the mode. The mode is, it can take three different values, R, W, or A. So if you want to read from a file, then we should set mode to R. If we want to write to a file, then we should set mode to W. And if we want to append to the file, which means that we will not erase its content, but we will just add some more data at the end of that file, we need to set this A to make this happen. So let's do it in our Python. So what we need to do is we need first a file object, a variable name. This can be any name that you would like to give. So let's say my file object, and then I need to call this open function. This is a built-in function like print, int, input, float. So this is a built-in function of Python. And then the other thing is we need to write our file. So the name of the file, let's say that my first file, okay? And then, well, do you want to read it, write it, or append it? For now, this file doesn't exist, so I will say that, okay, I want to write it. Okay, so that's why I put W. And then, now when I run this code, of course, it will not give me any output here. Okay, but then what happens? So it opened the file, it actually created the file, and it is empty. Now, you might ask, okay, where is this file? My first file, where is this located? Well, if I didn't specify any location, any address, specific address, it puts this file into where this Python program is located. So my program is located in, basically, it is shown here in users, Mücahit Kutlu, and then here we have this Python file. So if we go to that directory, like if I go to this users and then Mücahit Kutlu, here you see that here we have this my first file here. So if I double click that, you see that its size is 0 bytes here. So it's just an empty file. So if I just open that, I'll see something like this, nothing there here because I just didn't put anything yet. So now let's continue. Now you might say, okay, I don't want to put this file into that directory. I want to put it in a different directory. Okay. Then what I should do is, when I'm creating the file, I will just make this comment out. I will give my name this as a second file, my second file. Okay, but I want to put it in a different location. Let's say, let's say that I will go to my desktop. Okay. And I would like to put it here. Okay. So what I should do here is then I need to find the address of my desktop. Well, if you are using Windows, it will be different. But for a Mac, you can do just a right click and then go to the My Info. But anyway, so I need to write here my address location to my desktop, which is basically here. In a Windows computer, it will be different. But this is a Mac computer, so /users Mücahit Kutlu /desktop and then my second file. Okay, so I give the full path to my file so that the computer will know that, okay, where I really want to put it. It means that under users folder, under Mücahit Kutlu folder, under desktop folder, put this my second file. Okay, now when I will run this, okay, then now let's go here again. Now you see that in my desktop I have this my second file. Well, it's still empty because we didn't put anything. So if I just open it, it will be still empty. But at least now we are able to create this file where I would like to have. Now, there's one more thing that we need to be careful about it, which is yeah, it is this part. Especially if you are a Windows computer user, okay? I would like to copy paste this part from the slide actually to show that. Give me 1 minute. So this is what oh, I'm not able to copy paste that. Oh, this is an image file. Okay. Then let's write it. If you are a Windows user, what you will see is basically, I will make a copy paste. The file path will be something like this. I will copy paste from here. Users Blake temp. Okay. Users Blake temp, and so on. So you can write it in this way. But here is one issue. What is this? In a Windows computer, the folders are separated with a backslash. Now, here is the challenge. In Python, backslash has a meaning. Like if I want to mention a new line, I put it like with a backslash and then n. So this in Python it means a new line. Or if I use a backslash and t, as in here, it means a tab character. So Python understands this differently. So it understands that, okay, this means there is a tab here, tab character here, and so on and so. So, or it also, this backslash means that, okay, treat the next character differently. It has a special meaning. So in order to not to have this happen, we need to tell Python that, okay, don't treat this backslashes as a special character. So what we do is we put here an R text. So if you remember, we have this F string. Now we have this R string. R string means raw text, which means that don't treat these backslashes as a special one. Just accept it as a backslash. Okay? So especially if you are a Windows user, you have to write it in this way so that the program will not treat backslash as a special character. Shall I proceed? So I will, my computer is not Windows, so I will not need this thing. So I can just continue like this. In a Python, in Mac, for instance, there are normal slash character, not backslash, so it doesn't become a problem. But in Windows, it will be. All right. Any questions so far? Let's continue then. The other one is now I want to write some data to my file. How can I do it? Well, first I need my file object. In my code it was my file object, the name. And then using that file variable, file object, I will call its write function. Here is the syntax. My file object dot, and then the write is the function name, and then it takes some string that I want to put in my data. And then whenever we open a file, we should always and always close that file. Like we open the file, which means that like we construct a bridge between our RAM to the hard disk, and we are transforming the data. But if we terminate our program without closing it, it might cause some problems. Like maybe you have also experienced that. Like you are trying to turn off your computer, and then computer says that okay, can you there are some open files. You first need to close them. I don't know if you have ever experienced this or not, but it happens usually if a program is not properly closed, and then you are looking at okay, nothing is closed. It looks like everything is closed, but the thing is, the operating system says that there are some open files. It means that some of them are not properly closed. So that's why when we open an object, a file, we should definitely put this close function. So now let's do this as in our example. So this is my file project variable. Then I'm putting dot, and I'm writing write, and then whatever I would like to put here. So hello, maybe, and then world, and so on. So I wrote this data. I will put new line characters here at least. Then I need to close my data. So how can I do it? Again, I will use my file object and then say close. Now when I run this code again, okay, it doesn't print anything to my console, but if I go to my desktop, and then if I open my second file again, now here I see that yes, I have this hello and world here. So now I could pass some of my data to a file in my system. So if maybe it's not readable, but yeah, here it is. All right. Do you have any questions so far? Then let's continue. And please warn me at 10:25. We will get ready for the quiz, okay? So I need to stop at 10:25. Okay, this is just as another example. So here we open the file philosophers.txt by writing that, and then out file is our file object, and then we write these 3 lines, and then we close the file. So when we run this code again, this is what we will get in this example, in that file. And what if I want to read from a file? So for that one, the only thing that I need to change is this mode from W to R. When I do that, then I will be able to start reading from that file. And how can I read it? Well, there are multiple ways to do it. One is this read function. A read function basically copies all the data in that file and returns it as a string. So it reads all file contents. Or this readLine method, it reads only one line from the document. So if you call it, you need to call it multiple times to be able to read all the data in that file. So let's also do this as an exercise here. So let's say that, okay, we created this file, we fill it with those words, hello world, and then let's also read it. So for that one, I will say okay, my reader. This is my file object. And then I need to open that again. But when I'm opening this now, I need to set it to R, not W. And then, not to forget, I still need to close that. So I will put it at the end, just not to forget it. Now I will fill this part in between, okay? So how can I read it? Well, again, I will use my file object, and then it has this read function. It gives me the whole content of that file and returns it as a string. So I need to keep it in one of my variables. Let's say I said that, okay, file content is equal to my reader dot read, so that I will keep all the file content in this file content variable, and then I can just now use it as a string, and then I can process it here. So let's say that I want to just print it. So I can now print, if I say print file content, and when I run this code, now here, as you can see, that now we are getting this hello world here. Now this is one way to read it. And the other one is, as I said, we can read line by line. How can we do it? Well, again, I will reopen my file. And not to be confused, I will actually move that a little bit. Yeah. I need to clean my screen a little bit. And now I would like to put here just a message for reading line by line. And then what I will change is only this part. Again, I need to open it with an R mode. I need to close that. And when I'm reading it, now when I say my reader dot read line, okay, it reads only one line from the document, which means it would be only hello in our example. So I can again keep it in one variable. So I can say, okay, line 1 is my reader.read line. But in order to read the second line, I need to define one more variable. Let's say that for that one, line 2. And then, well, I can now print them in a separate way. Just to make it more clear, I will put this message there. Line 1 is equal to this. It will be line 1, line 2, and line 2. So now let's run our code again. Here you can see hello world comes from the first part. Then we are saying reading line by line. And then we have line 1 is equal to hello, line 2 is equal to world, and so on. But here is something else. It's interesting. Like here, I don't have any blank lines. But here I have blank lines between those lines. Do you have any idea why it might be the case? I have one blank line here, one more line there. The reason is, when I'm writing my file, as you can see, I put a new line character. So this is actually a file content. So how many characters exist in the first line? Well, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it actually has 6 characters there. When I open the document, yeah, I see only 5, but actually this new line character is not seen, but it has a function. Of course, we move to the next line. So what is happening here in this code then, when I read the line, it already contains one new line character. Okay? And then when I'm printing it, it prints it with a new line character, and then the print function, by default, it moves to the next line. That's why we have this. We have 2 new lines here. That's why we have one blank line here. If you don't want to have it, well, you can basically say, you can eliminate the default new line character of print function by setting this end parameter. Now this will be, let me go up. Now I don't have any new line, as you can see here. Is there any question so far? All right. This is just another example from this philosophers.txt. We read it from with the R mode. So when we say read, it reads all the contents, and then we need to close it. And then when we print the file, it will print all of them at once. So the same example. And if you want to read it line by line, again, we open the file. And then since it has 3 lines, we need to call this read line 3 times. And then we close the file. And then if you want to print, then we need to print them one by one also here, as you can see, as follows. So the same example that I did, but with different data types.